After giving them over $300,000 across the years, they still called a family meeting to declare me mentally unfit. You know how some days feel like they're wrapped in gold before they even begin? That's how I felt the morning of my grandson Daniel's wedding. I woke up early, sunlight pouring through the curtains, and I thought, this is going to be a beautiful day. A day filled with love, laughter, and that rare kind of family warmth that seems harder to hold on to the older we get. I was 67, and though the years had softened me in some places and strengthened me in others, I still believed in moments like these. I took my time getting ready, not out of vanity, but out of reverence. I chose the soft lavender dress Henry once said made me look like springtime. Lavender was his favorite on me. And before I stepped out the door, I reached for the bottle of perfume he'd given me on our last anniversary together, just a delicate trace on my neck. It still reminded me of his hands, his quiet smile, the way he used to look at me like I was the only one in the room. At the church, everything felt right. Daniel stood at the altar, nervous and beaming. His bride, radiant in ivory, walked down the aisle like a whisper of joy. The music swelled, and for a few precious minutes, I felt completely at peace. Like I belonged there, not just as the grandmother, but as the matriarch of something meaningful, something intact. I remember placing my hand over my heart and thinking Henry would have loved this. He would have been so proud of Daniel. And for just a flicker in time, I believed we were the family I had always hoped we would be. But that peace, it didn't last. Looking back now, I can see that this was the calm before the storm. And storms don't always arrive with thunder. Sometimes they sneak in through the most beautiful doors. After the ceremony, guests began filtering into the reception hall, a grand ballroom with tall chandeliers and golden accents that shimmered like the day itself was celebrating with us. I followed the flow of the crowd, my heels clicking softly on the polished floor, still carrying that warm feeling from the vows, the laughter, the way Daniel looked at his bride like she was made of starlight. Just outside the ballroom doors, there was a check-in table where guests were picking up their name tags and table numbers. I waited patiently, smiling at a few familiar faces, already picturing the dinner conversations, the dances, the champagne toasts. This was supposed to be a good night. A young woman at the table, likely one of the event staff, greeted me with a polite smile. "Good evening. Let me find yours." "Ah, here you are, Mrs. Hartwell." I reached out expecting to see something like Grace Hartwell, grandmother of the groom, in simple gold script. But the moment my eyes met the tag, I froze. It read, "The grandma who pays for everything." At first I thought it must be a joke, a typo, a prank that accidentally slipped through. But the elegant cursive, the thick cardstock, it was all professionally printed. This wasn't a mistake. This had been planned. I blinked, forcing a polite smile to mask the sudden tightness in my chest. My hands trembled slightly as I pinned the card onto my dress. I didn't want to make a scene. Not today, I told myself. Not on Daniel's wedding day. But as I stepped into the ballroom, that small tag weighed on me like a brick. The music played, guests laughed, glasses clinked, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something sacred had been broken. My heart, my place, my dignity. It wasn't long before I heard it hushed voices to my left near the bar. 2 young women giggling into their wine glasses. "Did you see her tag?" "Of course." "Thomas said she's basically their family ATM." Their words didn't just sting, they shattered. My worst fear had taken shape. I wasn't Grace. I wasn't a mother, a grandmother, a person who had built decades of love and sacrifice. I was an account balance, a walking checkbook in a lavender dress. I turned away quickly, hoping they hadn't seen me hear them. That's when I spotted Elise and Thomas across the room, chatting with another couple. Elise looked stunning in her soft blue dress, her hair styled just right. I had paid for the stylist, of course. Thomas had his hand lazily resting on her shoulder, his laughter loud and confident. As I approached them, their smiles grew, but not the warm kind, the knowing kind, the we're in on it kind. Mom Elise greeted, kissing me on the cheek. "Everything's going perfectly, don't you think?" Thomas nodded. "Couldn't have done it without you, Grace. Literally." He chuckled, eyes flicking toward my name tag. I forced a laugh. "Yes, well, I'm glad Daniel's happy. That's what matters." But inside, I felt hollow. There's a unique kind of pain in realizing that your love, your giving, has turned into something expected. Not appreciated, not respected, but expected. As if your worth is measured not in hugs or wisdom or stories told at bedtime, but in dollar signs and wire transfers. The evening wore on, but my spirit felt like it was unraveling thread by thread. During dinner, I found myself seated far from Daniel, far from the family table. Instead, I was next to a pair of guests I barely knew, old colleagues of Thomas's, I think. They were kind enough, but the distance felt symbolic. I had paid for the reception, yet I wasn't centered in it. I was on the edge, financially essential, emotionally disposable. There's a silence that creeps into your heart when you realize no one truly sees you anymore. Not the real you, not the woman who once danced barefoot in the kitchen with her husband. Not the mother who stayed up through the night with feverish children. Not the grandmother who sewed dresses and wrote birthday cards in cursive that nobody reads anymore. I excused myself and walked quietly toward the restroom. As soon as I shut the door behind me, I looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back looked beautiful, yes, but broken. I touched the name tag, the grandma who pays for everything. Was this all I had become? My throat tightened, but I refused to cry. Not yet. Not for them. Not here. I straightened my back and whispered, "You're more than this, Grace. You always have been." And yet, even as I whispered those words, part of me feared that maybe they no longer believed it. Maybe they never did. That was the moment I felt something shift, a quiet resolve beginning to stir beneath the sadness. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. I returned from the restroom with my chin lifted, my steps steady, but inside, I felt like I was walking through fog. The ballroom sparkled, laughter echoed, and the music danced in the air, but none of it touched me. I was surrounded by hundreds of people, yet I had never felt so utterly alone. I found my seat again, silently praying for the night to pass quickly. But then, as if the universe hadn't finished showing me how little I mattered, Thomas spotted me from across the room and raised his glass. "Grace," he called out in that booming voice he always used when he wanted everyone to hear. "Come here for a second. I want to introduce you to some important folks." I smiled politely, suppressing the sinking feeling in my chest, and made my way toward him. He was standing beside a couple in crisp designer outfits, clearly someone he wanted to impress. "This," he said, wrapping an arm around my shoulder like we were the best of friends, "is Grace Hartwell, our silent sponsor for tonight's celebration." They chuckled. I did not. The woman tilted her head. "Silent sponsor. Oh, she's too modest to say it herself." Thomas continued, grinning. "But she's the reason all this." He gestured to the luxurious decor, the food, the music was possible. "Let's just say the party wouldn't be quite as dazzling without Grace's generosity." They laughed politely. I stood frozen, smiling, with lips only, while inside I felt a wave of humiliation rise like heat from the floor. My name tag was already a cruel joke. Now Thomas had decided to make it part of the evening's entertainment. He might as well have said, "She's the bank," the walking dollar sign in a grandmother costume. As the couple wandered off toward the buffet, I turned to Elise, who had just joined us holding a glass of champagne. "Was that really necessary?" I asked quietly, trying to keep my voice from trembling. Elise gave me a teasing smile. "Oh, Mom, don't be so sensitive. It was just some harmless fun." Harmless fun. That phrase echoed in my head like a bell in an empty church. I nodded slowly, my face calm, but I could feel something shifting behind my ribs, a crack, a splintering. I had spent my life loving my family deeply, unconditionally. I had cooked meals for them when they were too busy, paid bills they never even asked for help with, Written heartfelt letters showed up to every milestone, been a phone call away in every emergency. And now here I was, reduced to a punchline in my own family celebration. I wasn't even angry in that moment, just tired. So incredibly tired. I excused myself again this time, not toward the restroom, but to a quieter corner of the ballroom, a little alcove near the windows, where the lights dimmed, and no one seemed to notice anyone unless they were holding a glass or a story worth gossiping about. I sat there for a while, watching the glitter of the chandelier dance on my lap. The hum of laughter surrounded me, but it felt distant, disconnected. Across the room, I could see Daniel and his bride dancing a picture of joy. And I smiled, not because I felt joyful, but because I truly was happy for them. Their love was still innocent, untouched by the games and masks that often settle into family dynamics over time. But even as I watched them, a bitter question crept into my heart. Do they see me too, or do they only see what I give? It's strange how pain can sit quietly beside you like an old friend, not shouting, not pleading, just present. That's how it was that night. I wasn't devastated. I wasn't hysterical. I was simply fading, disappearing behind the noise and the glitter behind the roles I had been assigned, rather than the person I truly was. And you know something, that's the worst kind of loneliness. The kind where you're right there fully present, fully giving, and yet invisible. I looked down at the name tag again, its neat golden letters catching the dim light, the grandma who pays for everything. No one had even questioned it. No one had thought, maybe that's inappropriate. Maybe it's dehumanizing. Maybe it's cruel. And that silence, their silence, said more than words ever could. That night, in that beautiful room full of flowers and music and polite laughter, I made a quiet promise to myself, I will not let this be the definition of my worth. I didn't know what that meant yet. I didn't have a plan. But I knew one thing, something had to change. And maybe, just maybe, that change would start with me. I lingered in that quiet alcove longer than I expected. It became a kind of hiding place, not from people, but from the truth I didn't want to face. That somehow in all my giving, I had lost myself. And worse, that maybe my family had stopped seeing me as a person a long time ago. I stood eventually brushing imaginary dust from my dress and made my way slowly down the hallway toward the ladies' room. I needed a moment to collect myself, freshen up, maybe splash some water on my face, before returning to the celebration. But as I reached for the bathroom door, a familiar voice stopped me. Grace, I turned and saw a man standing just a few steps away. He looked older than the last time I saw him, hair more silver than gray, now suit still impeccably pressed, but his eyes were kind, gentle. Mr. Caldwell, I said softly, I didn't know you were here. He offered a small nod, stepping closer. Henry invited me before he passed, said if I ever got the chance to attend Daniel's wedding, I should go. I wanted to honor that. I felt my breath catch at the mention of Henry's name. Even now, 3 years later, hearing it aloud had a way of tightening something in my chest. I'm glad you're here, I said honestly. He hesitated, glanced around, then lowered his voice. Grace, do you have a moment? There's something I've been holding on to, something your husband asked me to give you, but only if the time was right. That made me pause. What do you mean? I asked. He reached into his inner jacket pocket and slowly pulled out a sealed envelope, aged but intact. My name written in Henry's handwriting across the front. He called it a contingency, Mr. Caldwell said gently. Told me I should only deliver it if I ever sensed that things weren't right, that you weren't being treated with the love and respect he knew you deserved. I stared at the envelope, frozen. My fingers shook as I took it from him. That familiar slant in Henry's writing hit me like a gust of wind, the kind that knocks the breath from your lungs, not because it's strong, but because it carries a memory you weren't ready to feel. May I? Of course, he nodded. I stepped into a small lounge near the restrooms, sat down on the velvet bench, and carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a short letter, and beneath it a formal document. The letter was brief, but unmistakably, Henry, my dearest Grace. If you're reading this, then something has happened I hoped never would. I trusted our family to love and honor you as I did, but I couldn't leave that entirely to faith. If they forget who you are, this document will remind them. Yours always, Henry. I unfolded the document, hands trembling, and read the legal terms. It was clear, unmistakable. Henry had added a clause, a private condition to his will, that stated if any descendant publicly humiliated me, they would forfeit their inheritance. The wording was airtight. It covered acts of disrespect, coercion, public shaming, or any attempt to manipulate my autonomy. I sat back in silence, the papers resting in my lap like a weight I hadn't expected. Mr. Caldwell remained nearby, quietly watching me. He made it clear, he said, that this wasn't about punishment. He didn't want them to fear you. He wanted them to love you for you. But if they didn't, he wanted you to have this. My heart swelled with pain, with gratitude, with disbelief. Henry had seen it coming. Maybe not the specifics, but the potential. And in his quiet, thoughtful way, he had tried to protect me even from beyond the grave. I looked up at Mr. Caldwell. Why didn't he tell me? He offered a sad smile. Because he hoped you'd never need it. And for a long time, I believed I wouldn't. I believed Elise and Thomas, for all their flaws, still held respect in their hearts. That Daniel and Lucas would know who I was, not just what I gave. That maybe, just maybe, love would be enough. But now I wasn't so sure. I folded the letter and document carefully and handed them back to Mr. Caldwell. Keep it, I said quietly. For now. I'm not ready to use it. You don't have to decide anything tonight, he assured me. Just know it's there. I nodded, then looked back toward the ballroom. The laughter still floated in the air. The dancing continued, and I realized something. The party hadn't changed, the music hadn't stopped, but I had. Something in me had shifted, not broken, just awakened, because now I had clarity, I had truth, and I had something else too, something I hadn't felt in a long time, power. Not the kind that controls others, the kind that quietly, gently reclaims your worth. So I stood, lifted my chin, and walked back into the reception, not to blend in, but to begin watching, really watching who in my family saw me, and who only saw the purse I carried. The morning after the wedding, I sat alone at the kitchen table with a lukewarm cup of tea, still wearing my robe, my mind heavy with thoughts I hadn't had the strength to process the night before. The sealed envelope Mr. Caldwell had given me now, reopened, reread, and returned to the drawer, felt like a ghost lingering in the house, invisible but undeniable. I reached into my purse and pulled out the name tag. The grandma who pays for everything. There it was, still elegant, still mocking a silent summary of how they saw me. I laid it on the table in front of me and just stared. The soft light from the window caught the golden ink, making it shimmer as if to say, "This is who you've become." But that wasn't true. Not really. That's who they wanted me to be. And slowly my thoughts began peeling back the years, like opening old photo albums filled not with pictures, but with canceled checks. A kitchen remodel for Elise and Thomas. That was the first big one, $30,000. Just an update, they said. Something modest, nothing fancy. But it turned into quartz countertops, custom cabinetry, smart appliances, and a luxury gas range. Then came the cars, one for Daniel when he turned 18, another for Lucas. Both brand new, both unexpected surprises that had me writing checks before I even had time to process what was being asked. Then came the tuition, not all of it, but enough. Flights to and from college, study abroad programs, spring breaks that turned into luxury vacations with friends whose parents are helping too. The trips, the holidays, the down payments, the emergencies that weren't emergencies at all in the name of love, all given with a smile, because that's what family does, right? And for a long time, I believed that giving was a form of connection, that my generosity was a way to stay close, that if I kept saying yes, they'd keep seeing me. But now, with fresh clarity, I wasn't so sure if they ever saw me at all. The phone rang, pulling me out of my reflection. I reached for it, still half lost in memory. "Elise," I said, seeing her name on the caller ID. "Hi, Mom," her voice chirped, syrupy sweet. "Are you home? I've been calling your cell." I left it in my purse. I replied, neutral but polite. Well, she continued without pause. "Wasn't yesterday just magical? Everyone's still talking about how gorgeous everything was. Honestly, Daniel and Sabrina were glowing. Yes, they looked happy," I said, because it was true. "And they're so grateful for everything you've done," she added quickly, shifting her tone. "Really, Mom, we couldn't have pulled this off without you." There was a pause, just enough to let her next words land with purpose. "Actually, that's partly why I'm calling." And there it was. Her voice softened the way it always did, right before the ask. "Mark's parents were originally going to help with the honeymoon, but his dad's business is having some kind of downturn, and they had to back out." I said nothing. Daniel and Sabrina are just devastated. They were planning on Santorini. It's been their dream for years. Of course it had. Santorini, not a road trip, not a cozy cabin, a honeymoon with 5-star hotels and white sand and infinity pools. So we were wondering, she went on, if maybe you could help. There it was, the ask. She didn't even pause long enough for me to answer before adding, "Obviously Thomas and I would contribute too, but, after everything we put into the wedding, everything they put in," I nearly laughed. For the first time, though, I didn't feel panic, or guilt, or that familiar tug in my chest that always said, "Say yes quickly, or they'll pull away." Instead, I simply said, "I'll think about it." There was silence on the other end, a beat of confusion. "Oh," Elise finally said, her tone uncertain. "It's just they'll need to book soon to get the best rates." "I understand," I said. "I'll let you know tomorrow." We hung up not long after, and I stared at the receiver for a few seconds. Something had shifted. That single sentence, "I'll think about it," felt like a wall gently rising between us. Not a wall of spite, not even punishment, just space, space to breathe, space to see. Because for the first time in years, I was no longer reacting. I was thinking, not from fear, not from obligation, but from truth. And maybe it was time for everyone else to do the same. The day after Elise's call, the house felt quieter than usual. Not the kind of quiet that soothes, but the kind that creeps in after something has cracked and no one wants to acknowledge the break. I wandered through the kitchen in slow motion, the weight of her request still pressing against my chest. I didn't turn on the TV, didn't open a book. I just stood at the counter looking out the window at the garden I hadn't touched in weeks. And then the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, which in itself was unusual. Most of my visitors, Elise, Thomas, or anyone else from the family, never arrived unannounced. They called first, usually because they wanted something. But when I opened the door, it wasn't Elise. It was Lucas. He stood on the porch with a shy smile and his hands tucked into the pockets of his jacket. He looked so much like his grandfather in that moment, tall, thoughtful, kind eyes that always saw more than they said. "Hey, Grandma," he said softly, stepping forward to give me a hug. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart," I said, surprised by my own voice. It cracked on the word fine, and I wasn't sure if it was from exhaustion or relief. He followed me into the kitchen as I put the kettle on. He didn't say much right away, just sat down at the table and waited like he knew I needed to set the pace. When the tea was ready, I poured it into 2 mugs and joined him. For a few quiet moments, we sipped in silence. Then gently, he spoke. "I wanted to apologize," he said, "for the wedding, the name tag, the way everyone was talking. It wasn't right." I looked at him, eyes searching. "You noticed?" "Of course I noticed," he said, almost ashamed. "So did a lot of people, but no one said anything, including me, and I should have." I reached across the table and patted his hand. "It's not your job to fix your parents, Lucas." "No," he agreed, "but it's my job to stand up when something's wrong, And it was wrong, all of it. I saw the sincerity in his face, and it warmed something inside me. But what he said next chilled it again. There's something else, he said, lowering his voice. Last week, I overheard Mom and Dad talking. I wasn't eavesdropping. I just came downstairs for water, and they were in the living room. They didn't know I was there. He paused like he wasn't sure whether to keep going. I waited. They were talking about your house, he continued, about how it's too big for you, how it doesn't make sense for you to live here alone, and how they could help you downsize. I blinked. Downsize. He nodded. They mentioned Sunrise Grove, that retirement community near the lake. Dad said it would be better for everyone, that you'd be safer, but also that the market is hot and they could help you get the best return on the house. Said it would free up money for family needs. Family needs. I sat back in my chair, the mug suddenly cold in my hands. I had imagined many things over the years, that I'd grow old here, that one day the boys would bring their own children to visit this very porch, that the garden would bloom again when I had more time to tend it, that the fireplace would still warm birthdays and holidays and quiet winter evenings, but never not once had I imagined Elise and Thomas planning to sell it right out from under me. They want the house, I whispered. They don't want me. They want my life. Lucas looked stricken. I'm sorry, Grandma. I didn't know if I should say anything, but I couldn't just pretend I didn't hear it. No, I said, shaking my head. I'm glad you told me. I needed to hear it. I think, deep down, I've known for a while. But hearing it out loud, it was like hearing a diagnosis you already suspected but hoped wasn't true. I stood and walked to the window looking out again at the garden, overgrown a little wild, but still mine. I've spent so much time just trying to be needed, I said quietly. Trying to stay useful, stay close. I thought if I gave loved enough, they would love me back the same way. But it's like I was feeding something that only grew more entitled the more it was fed. Lucas didn't try to interrupt. He just let me speak. Now I see it, I said. Clearer than ever. It wasn't love, not the way it should be. It was convenience, comfort, inheritance, dressed up as affection. I turned to him, and for the first time in days, maybe weeks, I smiled. Thank you, Lucas, I said, not just for telling me the truth, but for seeing me. He smiled a little shyly. I always have, Grandma, and that gave me strength. Because in that moment, I realized something important. Even if everyone else had chosen to forget who I was, at least one person still remembered, and sometimes one is enough to start again. 3 days after the wedding, Elise and Thomas hosted a post-wedding brunch at the Rosewood Country Club. An elegant, sunlit space with floor-to-ceiling windows and waiters in crisp white uniforms. It was all smiles, fresh pastries, and sparkling mimosas, the kind of gathering that looks perfect on the surface, like a carefully polished photograph. But beneath that polished sheen, something inside me had changed. I wasn't the same woman who had quietly swallowed humiliation at the reception. I wasn't the same mother who'd written checks in silence, hoping love would be returned in kind. After what Lucas shared, after what I finally allowed myself to see, I knew I had to draw a line. I just didn't expect the line would be tested so soon. I arrived alone, dressed in a cream-colored pantsuit Henry had once said made me look dignified, yet dangerous. I smirked at the memory as I stepped inside. My heart was steady. My spine was straight. Elise greeted me with a breezy kiss on the cheek. You look lovely, Mom, she said, just a hint of surprise in her voice, as if she'd expected me to arrive looking small, defeated, grateful. Thomas chimed in from the mimosa bar. Glad you could make it, Grace. We saved you a seat at the head table. Of course they had. I smiled politely and took my place next to a couple I barely recognized acquaintances of Mark's family. Not next to Daniel, not next to Lucas, not even near Elise. Just another strategic placement. The brunch carried on in pleasant, meaningless chatter. Croissants were passed. Laughter floated from table to table. I kept to myself, quietly observing, taking mental notes. Then came the clink of Elise's glass. "Everyone," she said, standing, her voice ringing clear and warm, "thank you for being here today. Your presence means the world to us and to the happy couple." A chorus of polite applause followed. And of course, she continued with a pointed smile in my direction, "We owe a very special thank you to my mother, Grace Hartwell, whose generosity made all of this possible and whose kindness doesn't stop there." The room turned to me. I felt dozens of eyes settle, some curious, some expectant. Elise kept going. She has also graciously offered to send Daniel and Sabrina on the honeymoon of their dreams, 2 unforgettable weeks in Santorini. More clapping. A few gasps. Sabrina looked stunned. Daniel glanced at me, confused. And I simply set down my coffee cup. I stood up. My voice was calm, no shaking, no fury. "This," I said, "is the first I'm hearing of it." The room went utterly still. Elise's smile faltered, then froze into a brittle mask. "What do you mean, Mom?" "We talked about it on the phone. I said I would think about it." I replied, my tone even but unyielding. I didn't commit to anything, and I certainly didn't authorize a public announcement. A silence like static filled the space. All pretense dissolved. From across the table, I saw Thomas's jaw tighten. Richard, Elise's brother, who had flown in late from Chicago, narrowed his eyes from a nearby seat, arms crossed. I looked at Daniel and Sabrina, both clearly caught off guard, their expressions a mix of confusion and discomfort. I turned back to the group and said gently but firmly, "My money is mine to offer, not yours to assign." The words didn't boom. They didn't need to. They landed like stone on glass. Thomas stood abruptly. "Let's not make a scene." "I'm not," I said calmly, keeping my gaze on Elise. "I'm clarifying a boundary, one that should have been respected long ago." Elise's voice cracked slightly as she tried to recover. "We just assumed that I'd pay for it," I said. Without discussion, without respect, no one moved, no one interrupted. I have loved this family with everything I had, time, money, presence, patience. But what I give must come from choice, not assumption, not expectation, and certainly not entitlement. I looked around the room, my gaze sweeping slowly over each face. If Daniel and Sabrina would like a honeymoon, I'll speak with them privately, but I won't be spoken for not anymore. Then I sat down. You could hear a fork hit a linen napkin. No one clapped this time, no one toasted, just silence. And in that silence, I found strength, because I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't wept or begged or stormed out. I had done something far more powerful. I had said no, and I had meant it. By the time I got home from the brunch, the sun was already starting to set. I kicked off my shoes by the door and made my way to the kitchen, each step echoing through the quiet of the house. A quiet I had come to both resent and need. I made myself a cup of tea, lavender and mint, something calming, something grounding. I was still replaying every detail from the brunch, Elise's frozen smile, Thomas's clenched jaw, the way Daniel had looked at me unsure who to believe. But through it all, one thing remained steady. I had said what needed to be said. I had drawn the line. The kettle clicked off and I carried my mug into the living room just as the doorbell rang. A long, insistent chime. I froze. Somehow I already knew who it was. I opened the door, and there stood Thomas, face flushed, tie loosened, eyes blazing. He didn't wait for an invitation. He barreled past me into the hallway like he owned the place. "What the hell was that today?" he demanded, turning on his heel. "I think you know," I replied calmly, closing the door behind him. "You humiliated Elise in front of everyone. You made us look like fools." I told the truth. I said, keeping my voice even. "You've turned Lucas against us," he snapped. "That's what this is about, isn't it? He's been feeding you things, filling your head. That boy's not innocent." Just then, Lucas stepped into the room. He must have heard the commotion from the kitchen. He looked between us, eyes, sharp posture steady. No one turned me against you, he said, stepping beside me. I made up my own mind. Thomas scoffed. So now you're parroting her too? Lucas didn't flinch. I'm speaking for myself. The air between them crackled, but this time I wasn't afraid of the sparks. I looked at Thomas and took a breath, not to calm down, but to steady the truth that had been waiting too long to be said. You need to listen to me, I said, because this moment, this is where things change. Thomas blinked. I am not your provider, I said clearly. I am not your emergency fund, your retirement plan, your automatic honeymoon sponsor. He opened his mouth to interrupt, but I held up a hand. I am your mother-in-law, I continued. I am Daniel and Lucas's grandmother. I am Henry's widow. And more than anything, I am a human being who has loved this family deeply and given more than anyone ever should without being seen. Silence. The kind that follows an earthquake just long enough to realize the ground has shifted. You've been using me, Thomas, I said softer now. You and Elise both. Not just my money, my presence, my silence, my kindness. You mistook it all for permission. His face darkened. We've done plenty for you. I tilted my head. Name one thing you've done for me that didn't come with a receipt or a request. He didn't answer. He couldn't. The silence expanded, and in that space, I felt something remarkable, peace. Not the gentle kind that comes from stillness, but the powerful kind that comes from reclaiming your place in the room. Thomas looked at Lucas, then back at me. His expression shifted, not just anger now, but something deeper. Realization. He was losing control, and not because I was yelling or slamming doors, but because I had stopped playing along. You'll regret this, he muttered. You think this makes you look noble? It makes you look cold. Ungrateful. No, I said. It makes me honest. And finally strong. Thomas stood there for a moment longer, then turned and walked out without another word. Lucas and I listened as his car roared down the street. Only then did I let my shoulders drop. Lucas looked at me with a mix of awe and concern. Are you okay? I smiled gently. Better than I've been in a long time. He sat down beside me on the couch, and we sipped our tea in the soft hush of the room. For the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned, because the reckoning had begun, and I hadn't run from it. I had faced it head on and stood my ground. After Thomas stormed out of my house that night, something shifted inside me, not in a dramatic, fiery way, but in the way a mountain begins to move under years of quiet pressure. Subtle. Sure. Unstoppable. It wasn't vengeance I felt. It wasn't even anger, really. It was something quieter, but stronger. Resolve. For too long, I had allowed other people to dictate the rhythm of my life, their needs, their timelines, their expectations. I had been the fixer, the funder, the emotional sponge. But now I was done being everything for everyone while being invisible to myself. So I began my own gentle revolution. It started small. The next time Elise called, I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was syrupy as ever, Mom just checking in. Hope you're okay after the brunch. I think we just had a misunderstanding. But I didn't listen to the rest. I pressed delete. The next day, Thomas texted, call me. We need to clear the air. I didn't reply. There were more messages, more voicemails, some sweet, some sharp, some wrapped in fake concern, others barely masking their frustration. Are you eating enough? Elise asked in one. This isolation isn't good for you. Thomas followed with, you're making things harder than they need to be. But I saw through it now. I wasn't isolating myself. I was rediscovering myself. I dug through the guest bedroom closet and found the old sketchbook Henry had given me for my 60th birthday. It still had pages left, most of them blank. I sat down at the kitchen table, poured myself a glass of wine, and began to draw again for the first time in years. My hands were stiff. The lines wobbled, but it felt like breathing after holding it for far too long. A few days later, I signed up for a beginner's painting class at the community center. Watercolors. Once a week. I was nervous at first walking into a room full of strangers' paint-stained aprons and the smell of possibility. But by the end of that first class, I knew I'd found something. I'd been missing, a space that belonged entirely to me. And then there was Lucas. He started coming by more often, sometimes just to share a cup of tea, other times to talk about his dream of opening a cafe bookstore. Something cozy, he'd say, eyes lighting up, with shelves packed to the ceiling and good coffee. Maybe even a little corner for poetry readings. I listened, nodding. And then one evening after dinner, I looked at him across the table and said, "Let's do it." He blinked. "What do you mean I want to help?" I said. "Not because I'm expected to, but because I believe in you. That's the only kind of giving that should ever exist." His eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in a while, that innocent, boyish hope that life could still surprise you in a good way. We began planning quietly. He worked on a business proposal. I helped him look at properties. We researched loans, licenses, vendors. It wasn't flashy, but it was exciting. It gave me purpose again, not to be used, but to create. On the weekends, I started doing something I hadn't done in decades. I left town. Nothing dramatic, just small weekend getaways, a lakeside inn, a bed and breakfast in the next county, once even a solo train trip to a town Henry and I used to talk about visiting. I wandered antique shops. I ate dinner alone with a book and a glass of wine and didn't feel the least bit lonely. Each time I returned home, I felt a little more like myself. The version of Grace I used to be, or maybe the version I'd never allowed myself to become. Meanwhile, Elise and Thomas continued their campaign, sometimes dripping with forced affection, sometimes laced with guilt. One day, Elise dropped off a tin of cookies with a note, "We miss you, Mom. Let's talk soon." Another week, Thomas emailed me an article about fall prevention in seniors with the subject line, "Let's discuss your future housing options." I didn't bite. They didn't know it yet, but the power dynamic had shifted, not with a confrontation, not with drama, but with silence, with stillness, with me choosing myself for the first time in years. They had mistaken my kindness for weakness. But kindness, when paired with boundaries, becomes something else entirely. It becomes strength. And quietly, without making a sound, I had begun to reclaim my life. I turned 68 on a breezy October Sunday. The trees outside had started to blush gold rust, deep crimson. It was the kind of day Henry would have called a good day for soup and truth. Lucas insisted on throwing a small gathering at my house. Just close family and a few old friends, he said, trying to keep it simple. It's time they remembered whose house this is. So we cleaned, we cooked, we arranged fresh dahlias from the garden I had finally begun to tend again. I wore a new dress, deep red, bold, not something the old Grace would have chosen. My hair was set, my lips wore color, my back stood straight, and when the doorbell rang at 5 o'clock sharp, I was ready. Elise and Thomas were first to arrive. Elise carried a bouquet of supermarket lilies, and Thomas had that smile that never quite reached his eyes. "Happy birthday, Mom," Elise said, air-kissing my cheek. "You look different," Thomas added, scanning the room like a banker assessing property value. "I feel different," I said, simply letting the words hang there. Soon after came Daniel and Sabrina, looking nervous but respectful. Then a few of Henry's old friends arrived, including Mr. Caldwell, his presence quiet but grounding. Finally, Lucas, always last minute, always thoughtful, brought in the cake, homemade with white frosting and sugared cranberries on top. We settled into the dining room, roast chicken, baked squash, apple cider, laughter cautious but present. And then, just as I began to slice the cake, Thomas stood. "Before dessert," he said, tapping a spoon against his glass. "Elise and I would like to say a few words." I paused, knife hovering over the frosting. "Mom," he began, adopting a tone of false concern, "we've noticed some troubling behavior these past few months, avoiding our calls, refusing to discuss financial decisions, investing large amounts in risky ventures." I blinked. "You mean Lucas's bookstore? It's not personal." Elise cut in, her voice carefully, "Sweet, we're just worried." about your decision-making, about your well-being, and we've been speaking with a legal advisor." My stomach dropped not from fear, but from recognition. This was it, the moment they thought they'd seize control. Thomas continued, "We believe it may be time to consider a power of attorney arrangement for your own protection." The room went still. The warmth in the air turned to glass. I glanced at Mr. Caldwell, who slowly set down his coffee cup with deliberate care. "That's a serious step," he said evenly. "Do you have evidence of diminished capacity?" Thomas shifted. "She's giving away money to fund a bookstore in a digital age. She refuses to downsize. She's isolating herself." "I'm right here," I said softly. "You don't need to speak about me like I've left the room." Mom Elise pressed, "Please be reasonable." I looked at her, really looked. The daughter I had diapered, taught to braid hair, stayed up with during breakups and flu seasons. And I saw for the first time not confusion or love, but calculation. Desperation wrapped in concern. So I stood. My hand was trembling slightly, but my voice was clear. "I am not irrational. I am not incompetent. And I am not your burden to manage." Thomas scoffed. "So this is how it is." After everything we've done for you, I turned to Mr. Caldwell and nodded. He reached into his briefcase and withdrew a familiar envelope, the one Henry had written. The room tensed as he unfolded it. "Grace has asked me to read this clause," he began, voice steady. "It was added by Henry Hartwell prior to his passing and states, 'Any heir who publicly humiliates or attempts to control Grace Hartwell against her wishes shall forfeit their inheritance in full.'" The silence was deafening. Elise went pale. Thomas sputtered, You can't be serious." "I've never been more serious," I said, my voice shaking only at the very end. "The name tag, the honeymoon ambush, the attempts to force me from my home, and now this declaring me mentally unfit, it all stops here." Mr. Caldwell folded the document. "As executor, I can confirm Elise and Thomas Hartwell are disinherited effective immediately." Sabrina gasped. Daniel looked down. Elise gripped Thomas's arm, her voice shrill. "You let her trick us." "No," I said gently. "You tricked yourselves. You assumed love could be replaced by leverage, that I was too old to notice, or too soft to act." "And the rest of the estate?" Thomas barked. Mr. Caldwell cleared his throat. "As outlined, the remainder is divided between Grace and any descendants who have shown her respect and care." All eyes turned to Lucas, whose expression was one of shock and something else. Humility. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear, Grandma, I had no idea." I smiled at him. "I know. That's why you're the one who deserves it." The morning after my birthday, the house was still. Cake crumbs on plates, empty glasses in the sink, the faint scent of flowers lingering in the air. It should have felt heavy after everything that had unfolded the night before, but it didn't. It felt light, like a deep breath had finally been released after being held for too many years. I sat at the kitchen table wrapped in my robe, sipping tea as golden light spilled across the floor. And then I heard it, the soft knock at the front door. When I opened it, Daniel and Sabrina stood there. No bouquet, no rehearsed smiles, just nervous eyes and quiet sincerity. "Can we come in?" Daniel asked. I stepped aside without a word. They sat across from me at the table, Sabrina holding Daniel's hand like a lifeline. "I'm sorry, Grandma," Daniel said, voice low. "For everything, for the name tag, for not standing up sooner." I didn't realize how wrong things had gotten until I saw it all in one room. Sabrina nodded. "We didn't know what Elise and Thomas were planning. The brunch announcement, it caught me off guard, too." "I understand," I said, and I meant it. I had no desire to carry bitterness. But forgiveness, real forgiveness, isn't blind. It sees clearly and still chooses connection. So I reached across the table and placed my hand over Daniel's. "I accept your apology, but I also want us to start from here, not from guilt, not from history, but from honesty." Daniel nodded, eyes wet with relief. "I'd like that." So would Sabrina. It was a small moment, quiet, but it felt like the first brick being laid in a new foundation, something sturdier, something earned. In the weeks that followed, they began visiting regularly, sometimes for tea, sometimes to help in the garden, sometimes just to talk. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and real was enough. Meanwhile, Lucas was thriving. The bookstore project had gone from dream to blueprint. He'd found a charming little corner property just outside downtown, brick exterior, large windows, and a creaky floor that added just enough character. He called it Chapter 1. "I want it to feel like a place where people begin again," he said one night as we painted shelves together. "Like you did, Grandma." He didn't say it to flatter me. He meant it. Every word. We worked side by side most afternoons, me with a paintbrush or a ledger, him with endless lists of inventory and permits and cafe vendors. And through it all, something remarkable happened. He never once treated me like a bank. Every decision, every step, every thank you, it came with transparency, gratitude, and mutual respect. He never assumed, never demanded. He asked, he listened, and when I gave, it was never out of guilt. It was out of pride. Meanwhile, Elise and Thomas did exactly what bitter people tend to do when their control evaporates. They vanished. A neighbor told me they'd sold their house and moved to Arizona, chasing some job offer Thomas had hinted at months before. I never got a call, not a letter, not even a forwarding address, just silence. And strangely, that silence didn't hurt. It healed. Sometimes what we mistake for love is really just habit, noise that fills the empty spaces where real connection should be. And when that noise finally stops, when the pretending ends, you begin to hear the people who were there all along, like Mr. Caldwell, who stopped by with homemade jam and helped Lucas navigate small business licensing paperwork, like Evelyn and Margaret from painting class, who invited me to join their watercolor club on Sunday afternoons and never once asked what Elise thought of it. Like Daniel and Sabrina, who sat beside me at the community art fair and cheered when my first painting sold for $50 and a chocolate muffin. And like Lucas, who for the first time stopped calling me Grandma the Helper and started calling me my partner. Not just in business, in life. I used to think family was something you were given, something etched in blood and paperwork and old photo albums. But I've learned something new. Family is also something you choose, something you build brick by brick, boundary by boundary, with people who see you, not just for what you give, but for who you are. And somehow through all the pain, the loss, the letting go, I was finally building mine. 1 year later, I stood at the front of First Light Books, the little bell above the door chiming as a breeze carried in the smell of coffee and old paper. The store was everything Lucas had dreamed: warm lighting, cozy chairs, tucked into corners, shelves that wrapped around the walls like an embrace. The children's section was painted in soft blues and greens, and the mural I had painted a whimsical forest with hidden animals and dancing stars stretched across one entire wall. Twice a week I came in to read to the children during story hour. Sometimes they listened quietly. Sometimes they interrupted with questions that made me laugh out loud, but every time they reminded me how much life still waited to be shared. I sold a few of my paintings, too. Not for profit, just enough to remind myself I still had something to give, something that wasn't tied to a checkbook or a family obligation. And sometimes Claude stopped by a retired schoolteacher I met on a senior tour to Maine. He had kind eyes, a gentle wit, and a deep respect for boundaries. We took things slow, sharing coffee and conversation. No expectations, just companionship. Something tender, something earned. One Saturday morning, Daniel and Sabrina arrived with their newborn daughter, Hannah. I knelt beside her stroller, gently touching the tiny pink sock on her foot. "Welcome, baby girl," I whispered, my voice catching slightly. "She already loves your mural." Daniel smiled. "She'll be crawling through this place in no time," Lucas added from behind the counter. And in that moment, surrounded by books, laughter, gentle purpose, and the hum of a quiet, chosen life, I felt it. Not triumph, not revenge, peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because I had finally chosen what was mine to keep and what was mine to release. I looked around at Lucas, at Daniel, at the small, beautiful mess of this new chapter we were writing together, and I thought, I've never been richer in love, in purpose, and freedom, and this time, it was all mine. There's something deeply tragic about how we as a society begin to treat our elders the moment their usefulness to us becomes financial rather than emotional. Grace's story isn't just about inheritance or betrayal, it's about how easily we forget the humanity behind the hands that raised us. We live in a world that worships youth productivity and control. But what happens when a woman who gave her whole life to others finally says, no? She's called difficult, stubborn, unreasonable, and yet her quiet strength is the kind of revolution we desperately need. Grace didn't shout. She didn't slam doors. She reclaimed her life with boundaries, with truth, with dignity. And in doing so, she reminded all of us, especially women, that love should never be transactional and that saying yes all the time isn't a virtue. Sometimes no is the most sacred word we can speak. Her journey shows that family isn't about bloodline alone. It's about respect, presence, and reciprocity. Grace didn't lose a family. She uncovered one built from truth, not obligation. So maybe the question isn't what we owe our elders, maybe it's what we've forgotten to honor. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of your own grandmother, mother, or even yourself, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever felt unseen despite how much you've given? Let's talk in the comments. Your story matters too.